G'day mates, it's Busta here. So once again, before the video starts guys, I just want to provide a viewer's discretion for this video. Most of the story within this particular video is pretty moderate and should be fine to listen to. However, there are a couple of details towards the end that are fairly full on. So if you don't deal well with hearing about explicit information, perhaps listen to some of my other videos for now, or maybe just listen to some of the video. But for those who wish to continue on and watch the video right to the end, let's begin. This story is actually fairly convoluted, and it takes place over a little under 2 years. First of all, this starts in 1996. The month is kind of fuzzy, but I remember the year. I had just divorced my first wife, and while the split was amicable enough, I wasn't really ready to become involved with anyone for the foreseeable future. I had started hanging out with a friend that I had known since we were 12 or so. Terry and Amy had 2 kids, twin boys, and their names are unimportant. They were not quite 2 when I started hanging out again. For a while, it was the usual hanging out stuff, grabbing drinks, going to clubs, watching movies on VHS. DVDs were just starting to hit the market. It was the usual stuff. Terry worked really messed up hours. He worked at an institution which housed people with varied problems. I can give details if you wish, but they're not really part of the story, except to say that Terry and his father worked as counselors or custodians there, while Terry's mother was a janitor, I believe. Terry's hours were usually something like noon to 10 or noon to midnight. Again, forgive me, it's been nearly 18 years. As time progressed, I spent more and more time around the family and grew ever closer to my friends. I grew to love the boys, and actually started to think of them as my own nephews. They were awesome kids, but were rather dissimilar. One was very outgoing, lots of smiles and laughter, very social. The other was extremely shy and easily upset. It never ceases to amaze me thinking back. So, anyway, roughly June of 1997, the 3 of us decided to go clubbing. Things started out great, lots of laughs, everyone was having an awesome time, when Terry goes to get another drink at the bar. Amy tries to say something, but I can't hear her over the music. I lean in and she also leans in. She tells me, "I think I'm falling in love with you." Hopefully you're thinking exactly what I was thinking. Oh shit. I tactfully smiled, nodded, and told her I was going to hit the can, ostensibly to empty a fair bit of what I'd been filling up on. I immediately found my friend and said, "Terry, we need to talk, now." I led him aside, and I told him what had just happened, and that as his friend and hers, they needed to seek counselling together. I admitted that I was growing to have feelings myself, but had tried to shrug them off. My friendship with both of them was too important to me to risk. But I'm no angel. What I told him, I had deliberately understated. I was also falling in love, and I knew it was wrong. I hated myself for the feelings, because he was my friend, and I felt like I was potentially ending what I thought at the time was a happily married couple. I also really hated myself because I really did not want a relationship right now. I was too busy trying to figure out who the hell I really was, and I was still getting over rough feelings from my ex. So, here we are. I possibly just ended my relationship with both of them. This fucking terrified me, because as we've previously established, I'm extremely shy, even now at 43. I don't make friends easily, and the few friends I do have I consider to be more family to me than even my own family was. The only reason I was even at this club right now was because Amy insisted. I hate crowds with a passion. What happened next was completely unexpected though. Terry nodded and smiled. He thanked me for being so honest with him and said he would talk to Amy to see if there was anything to work out. He then confided that there had been marital issues for a while, and that he wasn't sure where things were headed. This didn't stop me from feeling like utter shit though, but at least I'd been mostly honest with him. We went back to Amy, drinks in hand, and everything continued as normal. When we went home, Amy was in a bad way, and I mean 14 shots of tequila plus only who knows how many mixed drinks bad. Frankly, looking back on it, she had to have thrown up at least once or twice while we were still out. Terry agreed she needed to crash, so we carried her in and put her on my couch. We put a 5-gallon bucket at her side, and then we started watching some movies. Time ticked off and he decided he needed to go home and get the kids from his sister. He'd just leave her and I could bring her by tomorrow. In hindsight, this was a very bad idea. So he left. I grabbed another beer, maybe two. I remember starting a movie, then going into the bathroom. My next memory is I'm on the other part of the couch. I have a blanket covering me, and on sudden and rapidly terrified realization, I'm totally nude. Amy sees me, starts chuckling and says, "Good morning." I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, please tell me I grabbed this myself. Okay, think. I went to the bathroom. I swear the woman was psychic because she looked me dead in the face and said, "Nope, I found you, passed out, completely nude." She became very serious, and I meant what I said last night. I think I'm falling in love. Fuck. Amy, we can't. I told Terry what you said. We just can't. You're married. You're married to one of my closest friends. I won't lie. I feel the exact same way, but we can't do this. Again, I expected a blazing row. I expected her to come absolutely unhinged for blowing her cover, for ratting her out to her husband. This is it. I'm definitely losing a friend. Both, perhaps, because she'll make sure I never see him again as well. But that wasn't the case. That's why I'm falling in love with you. You're honest. I cringed inwardly. I expected you to tell him, and if he was overly worried about it, why the fuck would he leave me here anyway? I had no answer to this. Making a long story short, things started to progress. Terry refused to go to counselling, and Amy started to confide in me all manner of issues, why she grew to hate her husband, etc. Eventually, they of course split apart. I won't claim to be blameless. If I'd been a better person, I suppose maybe they would have stayed together. Maybe she'd even still be alive. Just one more reason why I blame myself for the better part of 20 years. Things began to escalate now. Terry's mother once claimed when I was 18 or so, "You know, everyone thinks I'm this sweet little lady, until they piss me off. Then I become a really nasty bitch once that happens." Dude, those were prophetic fucking words, let me tell you. But at the time, I thought, yeah, right. I'd known her almost as long as I knew Terry, and I had never seen her nasty side. This lady stood, say, 5'3", 100-ish pounds, dripping wet. I would describe her as mousy, though at the time I wouldn't describe her at all beyond Terry's mother. As I recall, Vanessa had some really fucked up views too. Women who wore makeup, whore. Women who wear dresses, whore. Women who have sex for any other reason than to make babies, regardless of whether they were only fucking their husband or not, whore. As I grew older, the more and more I learned of her, I simply described her as batshit fucking crazy. We'll get more to that soon enough though. Although I have personally witnessed only one of the events. The rest I'll relay from what Amy described to me before her death. Because of the marital problems, Terry's mother insisted on them moving into a trailer right next to their own family trailer, because that would solve everything. All the marital problems would be solved if the family bonded together. Amy was dead set against this for several reasons. 1, it was in the middle of a bumfucked nowhere, Washington state. 2, she hated Vanessa with a fucking passion. 3, until like 2 or 3 years prior, the property didn't even have power. 4, it would take the closest one of her relatives a good 30-40 minutes to get to her in case of an emergency. And 5, Amy hated nature. She grew up around Philadelphia, and her father was former army. She was used to cities, military bases, civilization, not the sticks. This place was at the end of a 1.5 mile gravel road, only one way in or out. Ever been in the dark? I mean inky black total darkness? That was this place. Unless it was a cloudless night, you were completely blind. If you actually saw the stars, it was so beautiful though. You could see the Milky Way and so many stars. On the extremely rare evening, you could also see the Aurora Borealis. If you ever get the chance, go camping in the western Washington state. Anyway, back to the history lesson. Okay, so Amy moves out to the trailer. She hates it, but the cost of the rent was half of what they were paying closer to the city. Things between them continued to deteriorate. Apparently, she had been catching lie after lie from Terry. These were usually pretty minor things, but Amy had the same belief on honesty that I do. Neither one of us handled being lied to very well. At this point, we're say February of 1997. Amy and Terry have separated as a couple, but are continuing to live together for the sake of the children. They each have separate bedrooms, and when Terry's at work, she's at home watching the boys. When he got home at around 10 or so, she leaves and spends the night at my apartment. This is when she starts telling me what's going on. They've been arguing more and more. Terry's been lying constantly. Vanessa has been breaking in and searching the house, threatening her, calling her a variety of names, from something as simple as tramp or bitch, up to whore or cunt, etc. Vanessa informed Amy that 1, this was her trailer and she'll come and go as she pleases, and 2, the boys are her children and Amy had better watch her back because she planned to make sure Amy was out of the way. None of this was admissible in court due to hearsay. What she told me didn't matter because I didn't personally witness it myself either. So yeah, Terry is becoming more and more unstable, and at one point he starts hitting Amy. Vanessa, she begins peeking in the windows at all hours. She walked into Amy's bedroom while she was in the shower and supposedly actually watched Amy bathe until she was noticed. Amy rather verbally attacked her over this event. She told Vanessa that if she ever walked into the house again without permission, that she would meet a baseball bat and then have the police called to arrest her for trespassing. Amy mysteriously keeps accidentally running over nails and having trouble finding her car keys. Now it's April, I think. Terry isn't home for some reason. I forget the circumstances as to why, but he's gone for a few days. My apartment doesn't have a washer or a dryer. There's a laundry room where you can pay for the use of the machines, but security was non-existent. So Amy tells me to come out and we can chat and I can do laundry at her place. I agreed eagerly. I mean, let's face it, I have who only knows how much dirty laundry, and it was a chance to hang out, see the boys, and spend some time with a woman I loved. Around, say, 11 at night, there's a banging on the front door. It's Vanessa. Amy and Vanessa are going at it verbally. Vanessa is calling Amy a tramp and a whore and is trying to demand Amy hand over the boys to Vanessa because they're her children, and a whore has no business being around them. Please keep in mind, I'm doing nothing more than laundry, drinking coffee, and I think we were watching some sort of comedy movie. I don't remember the movie, but I remember we were laughing at it. At one point, Vanessa tries to force her way past Amy and tries to grab one of the boys, but Amy is faster and stronger. She sweeps up one of them and tells Vanessa to get her fucking ass off the doorstep and never return, or she'll call the police. Vanessa is so angry, she's sputtering with rage and stuttering over the words she's trying to get out. Vanessa, she finally notices me and launches into a verbal attack, at one point calling me a fucking yippie. To this day, I can't remember that event without chuckling. When it happened, I looked at Vanessa and I laughed, asking her, "What the fuck is a yippie?" This actually caused her to storm off. I guess my bothering not to take offense was the final straw for her. So, we'll say 15 or 20 minutes later, Amy is on the phone with her mother, alternatively laughing about the event and also expressing her rage. I'm switching over laundry, and as I come out, the doorbell rings again. Rolling my eyes, I'm thinking, here we go again. And Amy actually said it to her mother. She said, "Hang on." She sets the phone down so that Amy's mother can hear the exchange as well. As Amy opens the door, Steve, Terry's father, bursts in with a fury I'd never seen for him. He grabs Amy by the throat, and as soon as he sees me, he throws her down to the floor. Steve rushes me and grabs me by the shoulders. I grab his arms and say, "Steve, you better think really hard about whether or not you want to try this." I told him I would finish whatever he started. At this point, the rage on his face melts away. He blinks a few times and then he looks at me, puzzled. He looks at Amy. She's holding her throat and yelling to her mother to call 911. Steve looks back at me and in a rather meek voice says, "What's going on here?" I said, "Steve, I'm doing laundry." He says, But you're dressed." I said, "Yes, Steve, that's generally how you do laundry." He looks back to Amy again and says, "But she's dressed." Again, I say, "Steve, I'm doing laundry. We're drinking coffee and talking." He then mutters more to himself and says, "Oh shit." The police were called and Steve was arrested for domestic violence, simple battery. I think I need to make this quite clear. In all the years I'd known Steve, I had never seen him act in any way that could be construed as aggressive or violent ever before. I was actually quite shocked to see him behave this way, and I think that's what made me try to talk him down first. The man before me now wasn't the Steve I knew. On a side note regarding his arrest, the story I was told about his arrest went something like this. Vanessa left him to rot. He stayed in jail over the weekend, and she made him walk home because he didn't finish the job. Piecing everything together after the fact, here's what I think is the most likely scenario. Vanessa had the altercation with Amy, then she tried insulting me, which made me laugh at her. She went back to her own trailer, which was maybe 300 feet away, and decided to weave a tale so perverse that Steve finally lost his temper and came to defend his wife and son's honour. I only have guesses here, but with this comment of, "but you're dressed," I expect that he thought we were having sex, or something along those lines. Once he muttered, "Oh shit," he realised he'd been misinformed. For his actions, he spent a weekend in jail and was never allowed to approach the property again when Amy was there. This was the only event that I directly witnessed. However, this did not stop. More of Amy's property was damaged. Things started going missing, but only Amy's items. Her underwear went missing, clothes were ruined, jewellery missing, but things like one earring, jumper cables from her car, tyres flattened. She was receiving weird phone calls, just dead air or breathing. She said that she was also receiving calls where she was being threatened. At this point, she started recording the conversations Terry had with her. I was becoming more and more paranoid. I was begging her to get out of the house, take the boys and run. The scene at the trailer was getting worse. Power inexplicably cut, water stopped working even though they were on a well, etc. All this time, she kept telling me everything was fine. Terry wouldn't touch her. Vanessa is afraid of her. Don't worry, she'd say. July 4th. The boys turned 3 today. Terry took the day off, but if I recall correctly, he went out of town. I'm unsure of what the case was, but he wasn't with the boys. Amy and I took them to see the fireworks and had a wonderful time. I continued begging her to leave. I didn't care where. Stay with me, if necessary. We'd get a 2-bedroom apartment. Stay with her mum, go to Arizona and stay with my father, and I would follow. I just knew something was coming. Again, she reassured me that everything was fine though. I didn't know this at the time, but Amy's mother was also pushing for Amy to leave. I think she also knew that something was off. July 17, 1997. Amy comes to my apartment, like always. She's upset. The details are sketchy, but she and Terry got into another fight. She also mentioned Vanessa as the bitch, and says she's been sticking her nose into it again. She says Vanessa's threatening her again. I can see that she's been crying. Once again, I'm begging her to leave the place. It's not good for her, obviously, and it's not good for the children either. I end up holding her and we fall asleep holding each other. I'd never felt better. July 18, roughly noon. Exactly 2 weeks since the boys turned 3, Amy finally agrees. Today, after Terry leaves, she's going to pack up the boys and she's going to head to her parents' place. She's finally had enough, and when he gets home, he'll find the house empty. She kisses me, tenderly, and tells me she loves me. She tells me she'll call me later tonight, and we can plan the future together then. I walk her to her car, and we share another kiss. I tell her how much I love her, and I tell her to be careful. She assures me that she's going to see me very soon. I go inside, and she heads out to the boys. I ended up falling asleep, but the dreams I had weren't pleasant. 10 p.m, nothing. Midnight. Nothing. I'm really beginning to freak out. I haven't heard a thing. What's going on? I try calming myself, saying she's just filling in her parents in on everything. Everything's fine. It has to be. Amy told me not to worry. July 19, roughly 1 a.m. My phone rings. It's her parents' phone number. Finally, I breathe a sigh of relief. I pick up the phone and say, "Hello, my love. What took you so long?" The voice on the phone, it isn't hers. It's her father's. He says,
"Is this Adam?"
I responded, telling him yes. Once confirmed, he continues,
"Adam, this is Amy's father. Have you seen Amy lately?"
Again, I responded telling him that yes, she left my place around noon yesterday, and I was waiting for her to call me once she got over to their house. He continues.
Adam, there's been a problem.
What problem?
The police, they're at Amy's house.
Why?
I felt the knot tighten in my gut. He hasn't even said it yet, but I know.
Adam, there's been an event.
No.
Adam, Amy's been shot.
No!
Yes, Adam, it's happened. The police are out there now.
Fuck. Is she okay? Tell me she's okay.
Adam, I'm so sorry. Apparently...
Here, he starts choking up and breaking down. He barely gets the next bit out.
Adam, they've been telling me she's dead. My baby girl, she's dead.
Here, he loses it completely.
Motherfucker. I'm gonna kill that motherfucker.
I'm currently rearranging my apartment rather effectively.
Adam, no, stay home. Do not go out there. Don't do anything stupid. Let the police do their job. Adam, do you understand me?
Yes, Frank. Yes, I understand.
What are you doing?
I'm loading my 357.
Why?
Because I want to be ready.
Excuse me?
Have they arrested him yet?
No, I don't think so.
Then I'm getting ready. I won't go out there, but only because you said not to. But if that motherfucker shows up here, I'm gonna blow him away.
Okay, well, I can't stop you from protecting yourself. But please don't do anything stupid.
I won't, Frank, but only because you're asking me not to.
I'm so sorry, Adam. It's so apparent that you love my daughter so very much. I'm so sorry.
No, Frank, I'm sorry. I failed you both. I'm so sorry.
What do you mean? How did you fail us?
Because I knew this was coming. I've been begging her to leave for a while. She finally agreed to leave yesterday at noon. She was going to come to your house with the boys. I failed you. I failed her. If I could have just convinced her one day sooner. I'm so sorry. Frank, I failed to protect her.
The conversation continues, but basically we both broke down and promised to keep each other informed. After I hang up, I called my mother. They knew that if I was calling, now around at 2 a.m, there was a very big problem. I relayed to them what had happened, and they were at my apartment within 20 minutes. The last truly sane thought I had for a very long time, I handed my gun to my mother and made sure I didn't get it back until I was more stable emotionally. It was 5:30 in the morning, roughly, and there was a knock at the door. I look through the peephole and see two men. Neither are Terry. I open the door.
Excuse me, sir. We're looking for a man named Adam.
At this point, they show me their badges and credentials. These were the detectives investigating the case. I said I was waiting for arrival, and I told them to come on in. They said,
You were waiting for us? Why? Why were you waiting?
I said that Frank and Amy's mother called me. I told them I already knew why they were here. It was also obvious that I'd been crying. As a side note, I never cry. The police also noticed, but at that moment said nothing. Once inside, they asked,
Adam, can we see your gun?
Under normal circumstances, my first reaction would have been, how do you know I have a gun? Right now though, I'm destroyed. All I could do was simply nod and ask Mum to hand it to them. They opened a chamber and asked,
Why does this only have 5 bullets?
I responded.
That's how Dad gave it to me.
They said,
This is a 357. Do you have any other guns? Smaller guns?
I replied,
No, I only have the one, and it never leaves the house.
They asked if they could search, and I actually laughed and said go ahead. They saw what I'd done to the apartment and said,
This has hit you hard, I can tell. Now I understand the obvious crying. You obviously loved her.
I responded in my typically not so patient for stupid way with,
Gee, what was your first clue?
Long story short, they searched the house, asked the last time I was out to the trailer, and they checked my car. After about an hour, they said they wanted to interview me at the station. By this time, 3 cops stayed at the apartment searching. My computer was spitting out the last 6 months of IM chat logs, and I was at the station being interviewed. By 9:30 or 10 AM, I was back at the apartment. Mum had tried to straighten up some of the mess, and the police left me to my own misery. We're over 18 years into this, and let me tell you, the pain never goes away. I know logically that if I had been there, I too would have most likely been killed. But I still, and probably will always, have that voice in the back of my mind telling me I was wrong, telling me I failed her. Years of therapy taught me how to live, but the damage is permanent. Not a day goes by where I don't think about her. I will always wonder what I could have done differently if I had just convinced her to leave just one day sooner. Fast forward some time, Terry and his mother were arrested. They were tried for various charges and convicted. The first trial was overturned on technicalities, and as they were about to be retried, both of them took a plea deal. Vanessa admitted to assault conspiracy and also sexually defiling a corpse. Yes, that's right. The sick bitch raped a corpse. Terry admitted to second-degree murder and conspiracy, I think. Every July 18 is a bad day for me. The boys are now 21. They have no memory of their mother. Vanessa is out of jail, and Terry's still incarcerated. B, I want you to pass this along and get it heard by people. Maybe, just maybe, it will prevent this thing from happening again. I don't want any attention or glory. I just want Amy's story told. I want to know she helped someone else live and escape before it's too late. For the survivors, you'll never be able to fix yourselves. Not completely, at least. But life must go on. But you'll always have that hole. It never heals. G'day mates, it's Busta here. Well, I didn't see that last bit coming at all. Wow. That stepmother was completely psychotic. I think I might go out and buy my own stepmother a box of chocolates or some flowers or something. Jeez. Thanks again to the Hive member that bravely shared their story for us all here. And for the chance to have your story feature in a video, you can send your story to my email, which is in the description below. And as always, keep them coming guys, as this channel relies upon your stories to continue. Also, please do me a favor and just state in your email what your story is about in the description, and also provide me with a short written statement of consent so that I can be above board with everything. And also remember to tell me in the email if you would like to remain anonymous, and please change any names if you don't want particular names to be shared. Just a reminder as well, I've decided to try and do some more themed videos again, and to do this I've decided I'm going to send some requests at the end of some videos for people to share particular types of stories, so that I can make them into a video. And last video I spoke about 2 video genres I'd like to have a crack at. Those 2 particular genres are hacking stories and mental hospital stories. So if you have a story that would fit under either of these genres, I would love to hear from you. But remember guys, even if you don't have this type of story, please continue to send your stories in because I want to hear them all. And as always, it would be awesome if you could like, share, comment and subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram for updates throughout the week. You can also catch me on my second gaming channel, all of which have links in the description below. Thanks again for always tuning in guys, and I'll see you mates in the next one.